talking about very quickly, looking ahead to the new year, UFC 311 has obviously been announced. Islam Makhachev versus Arman Sarukian, probably the best fight you can make in the lightweight division, certainly in the lightweight division, one of the best fights you can make in the UFC right now. But that co-main event between Merab Dvalishvili and Umar Nurmagomedov, I guess the question I want to ask you is, what are you anticipating from the build-up? Because it's already got spicy, it's already got
I
fiery.
know.
We have two interesting personalities and an interesting style clash of
We
personalities. What are you
we do,
anticipating?
and and obviously with Umar Nurmagomedov, you get the celebrity circle around him of Islam Makhachev and Habib, his cousin. But look, I'm a little shocked. I'm a little shocked at for as great of a year as Morab had. You want to talk about a
Yeah.
guy who belongs, in my opinion, in the top three of Fighter of the Year discussion for winning the title. On that platform against that level of opponent, and by the way, also defeating Henry Cejudo before
Exactly.
that, which is
Yes.
no picnic. Um, his winning of that title felt like almost the start of a new era. And just fast forward a couple months later, and we get Morab being, I think, correctly criticized for what seemed like he was ducking Umar. I get the
Mhm.
stance he had, and it's not that it's an illegitimate stance. Has Umar done enough to cut the line like he has? You can argue no, for sure. I mean, the guy was ranked number 13 at bantamweight. Seems like just a few minutes ago. Although we take nothing away from that breakthrough victory, which truly put him in this spot. But even if Marab's right, how do you go from a year like that, the high point of being at the Sphere, feeling like you're starting a new era, and people are like, holy crap, like the uncrowned champion finally got his chance and he broke through. And then you get him legitimately acting like he didn't want to fight Umar. And then almost like this jealous ex lover spat. I'm not trying to be, idiotic or spicy and infer anything. I'm just
Yeah.
saying the way that Morab acted in the backstage thing they had before that press conference, at that press conference last week in Vegas, it was very much like an emotion pulled from him deep within that I didn't think would be there for a guy that's always so easygoing and almost goofy.
Mm.
It really sounded like, not that he's scared. Look, he signed the dotted line. He's a fighter through and through. That guy ain't scared of anything. But he recognizes, and I think that's why he's playing up so much that he doesn't believe Umar should be here. He recognizes that Umar is a Nurmagomedov,
Yeah.
that he's a complete fighter, that he is taken that title from Merab of being, quote unquote, the uncrowned champion, meaning people believe you're good enough. We're just waiting for you to get that opportunity. This is such a hardcore fight fans, dream. I cannot wait for this fight. But I do wonder, if anything, what all of this emotion from Morab will mean on fight night. It's interesting. It's interesting to see him go in the sports deepest division, one that's filled with celebrity names, and he got through two of the biggest in Cejudo and O'Malley, and now he's an underdog, right? Against somebody
Yes.
who's got one win on the elite level,
Yeah.
but he's got a great last name. He's got the best team around him. So we're gonna find out come UFC 311. But interesting stuff. I mean, like, we're not going to dunk on Marab, but Mike, you got to be surprised he's acting this way, right? It doesn't seem characteristic of him.
Yeah, it doesn't seem had the pleasure of meeting Merab a couple of times and he has a lot of energy, but it's all very positive and it's all very upbeat and it's all good stuff. So to see him make excuses is the bit that surprises me. Having also heard a lot of the things about the training room and Syndicate MMA and the nightmare that he is on the mat on sparring day, it surprises me that Merab would not necessarily duck an opponent, but duck a challenge. That's the bit that strikes me.
I'm with you. I'm with you, man. But I'm glad they got it in before Ramadan, and they just took a card that already on paper is pretty damn good and is now overflowing with greatness. So
Yeah.
let's go come January 18th.
Very last question before I let you go, and apologies if I have to end on a sour note, but I feel like I have to ask this question. The question should be, do you expect Conor McGregor to fight in 2025? I suppose the question I'd like to frame it as, should Conor McGregor be allowed to fight in 2025?
Yeah, the question of should is very interesting, but I think UFC has already made this bed a long time ago. Really, with Connor and the build to Habib and the biggest fight of all time, and basically setting a precedent that if you screw up royally outside the cage, short of something that is unforgivable, you can't take back. And I think to a lot of people, the allegations against him and the fact that he was proven wrong in a civil court, I guess, should escalate it above that line. But for UFC's purposes, and you hear Dana say it all the time, let the legal system handle it. Remember when Conor threw the dolly through the
Mm,
window and then they said, Dana, are you going to punish him, right? Don't forget, it wasn't just, Habib he went after. He got glass in the eye of a fighter.
mm,
A couple other fighters were distressed emotionally from that situation. And Dana said, no, he's already paid enough in legal fees. He paid his penalty. So look,
yeah.
that's the establishment from the company. And as much as it's disappointing, it's not surprising when Dana White a year ago slapped his wife on New Year's Eve. You couldn't even get a press release out of, the parent companies in that regard. So should he fight? I'm going to be honest. It's almost a non-question because it's not going to matter. But will he fight? I think he will. And I actually think the fallout of this trial and the astonishingly bad PR that he's received, rightfully so, from it. Obviously, there's some contention of his guilt, and him and a lot of people publicly are backing, there's some holes in the case. It wasn't a perfect case, but the judgment was delivered. And I think all this negativity will drive him even quicker to quote unquote get his ish together.
Mm.
Now, will that mean we will see a McGregor of old? I don't see how you could when it seems like this guy's been partying nonstop for about 2.5 years straight. And we hear the rumors about him pulling out of the International Fight Week card, this year. And the idea of could he push through? Well, yeah, the Conor of 2015 and 16 would have, without question.
Mm.
So we're already at an older, inactive, recovering from serious injury McGregor, who seems to be living the life of an 80s rock star on the regular. I've got really bad visions of what his future in a cage looks like, but do I think he'll come back even to just, let's not forget when he came back against Cowboy Cerrone, which was a comeback fight, a couple years after he lost to Habib.
Yep.
A lot of that was about brand rehab, about presenting Conor as the family man, the reformed man at a time where those allegations were swirling of what ultimately led him to court. I think that this is going to be his way of coming back and feeling good again, getting cheers again from the people that will still show loyalty and cheer for him. But I do think you're going to see nothing but demonstrative diminished returns from him in the cage moving forward. And, if he goes in there and loses badly, I don't know if you see him again. That's the thing, right? And and when he does come back, there obviously will be a firestorm of bad PR attacking him. Reporters will obviously be looking to ask key questions. It's not going to be easy for him. People are not going to roll out the red carpet and just say, oh, those are allegations or what have you. It's a different time in his story. But I think it may lead to him even more needing the spotlight again, wanting it and wanting to come back to being, in theory, that disciplined warrior that he once was, that got him to the point of where he did, where he took over the sport and, in some ways changed it for good. But that guy's not walking through that door anymore. That guy's gone, and he's long gone. And Mike, it took me a long time to come to terms with that, because we all sort of hope, whether we actually like Conor or not, what we all fell in love with if we were a fan or a journalist during his rise was that magnetic effect of goodness that he brought to the sport, energy, excitement, money, opportunities for him, for the UFC, for all of us. But that guy's not here anymore. And I think that impact, which could be resurrected, like when he came back against Cowboy and it was like, man, he's back. Everyone cares again. When he came back that second time against Dustin for their second fight, it was like, people care again. He's back. We just want him back. You're going to find at least half the audience saying, no, we don't want him back. And how much worse can that get for Conor if he doesn't start, I think, actively making very necessary changes to his life?
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And I think that's the best place for us to end. Brian, thank you as always for the time. We've covered past, we've covered present, and we've covered a little bit of future. So I always appreciate your time, yours and Luke's time, and thank you as always. Much appreciated.
Mike, thank you. And by the way, who had a great 2024? Mike Owens Media did, okay? Congratulations on all your success. It's only the beginning, Mike, okay? So keep fighting.
Much appreciated, Brian.